take the sederant for this meeting of the Petitions Committee held on Friday the 25th of April 2025. I can see that we have present Councillor Donnelly, Councillor Fulton. Do we have Councillor Kerr? No. We also have present Councillor Logan. I have apologies from Councillor Nelson. We have present Councillor Ray. I have apologies from Councillor Scott. And we have Councillor Leslie MacDonald substituting. We also have present Councillor Toner. Councillor Buchanan, I can see that you are in the meeting, but we have the full quota of SNP members present in the meeting. Can you advise who you were substituting for?
No idea. I was just sent the papers.
Yeah, substitute members always get copies of the papers as well, Councillor Buchanan. But as I say, we have the full membership of SNP members within the meeting. Could I ask you to leave? Hi, Councillor Donnelly.
Sorry, Carol, I did ask him if he could substitute for me, but since I didn't get any reply, that's why I've linked in today. But I would appreciate if Archie could substitute for me, because I've got another meeting.
Okay, that's fine. So if you can leave the meeting, Councillor Donnelly, and Councillor Buchanan will stay in the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
She's still present in the meeting at the moment. She's still showing us speaking. Okay. Okay, but she's still present within the meeting.
Okay.
I'm just going to... Councillor Donnelly, could I ask if you could leave the meeting, please? Still seeing him? She still is appearing in the meeting, and I have no way to. Do you want me to email her? Yeah, if you don't mind, Karen. I don't know if you want to carry on. She is still shown as present. Obviously, she would now not be allowed to speak or take any part. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry for that delay there, everybody. Before we get into the petition itself, can I ask if there's any declarations of interest? No. Okay, that's great. We'll move on to the business for the day, which is the petition requesting safety measures at Peel Road and the railway bridge at Thornton Hall. We have the lead petitioner, Mr. Paul Harvey, accompanied by Dr. Fiona Garner, who will give a 10-minute presentation. So if you're ready, quite happy for you to start now. And I just want to say we'll keep it a strict 10-minute time limit. So hopefully you've tailored your presentation to suit that time. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My presentation is probably likely to be less than 10 minutes. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to come and talk to you about the safety on Thornton Road and the railway bridge, on Peel Road and the railway bridge. I'd like to say good morning. My name's Paul Harvey, and I'm joined today by Dr. Fiona Gardner, the chair of the Jackton and Thornton Hall Community Council. And after my short presentation, she'd like to give you a brief summary, a few words at the end. So, okay, next slide, please. In November 2021, residents from Thornton Hall raised an e-petition relating to the risks to safety posed by traffic passing through the village on Peel Road. It cited traffic speed, mini roundabout design, and warned of increasing traffic volumes and asked the council to consider introducing traffic calming measures. Next slide, please. Our road safety measures on Peel Road have visibly decreased. The majority of Peel Road is missing lane division lines and the footpath demarcation lines on the railway bridge, the 30-mile-an-hour painted road signs, the Dragon's Teeth slow down signs have all abraded and mostly worn away. According to speed reduction levels provided by South Lanarkshire Council in the agenda of 2022, we believe that the deterioration of the signage has increased the speed levels across the road by somewhere around 11 miles per hour. And this is mainly due to signs being disappeared, just not being there. Next slide, please. Yeah. Traffic speed signs are ignored on Peel Road, and road speed and volumes on Peel Road itself are on the increase too, mainly due to new conurbations that have been in Jackton Hall. Next slide, please. Recently, there have been 2 near misses on Peel Road, recently there have been 2 near misses on Peel Road and the railway bridge. The last one occurring only last week. Police and ambulance services attended. The police were informed about both incidents. The first incident was on the railway bridge as well, which involved a skip lorry going over too fast and very, very close to a pedestrian walking across the railway bridge. Next slide, please. In some places, particularly the railway bridge, the road is barely wide enough for the vehicles that are coming across it now, especially when 2 HGVs or SUVs meet up. The abraded road surface as well has hidden the path across the railway bridge. All of the tarmac coming off the road surface has hidden the green path and the demarcation lines as well. Next slide, please. So here's my take on the issue on Peel Road. It's time to upgrade the road signs and make Peel Road a safer place for all road users. It has to be acknowledged that the current signage is very, very much turn of the century, and the needs to and needs to be reconsidered in the light of the modern day vehicles that are using it. We've got road signs along the side. You'll see in one of the images in a moment, but probably go back to the 1920s. Next slide, please. This map of Peel Road shows the current safety markings and the blind bend, please, at the top of the map, which is not mentioned in the agenda roads report, and it partially masks the entrance to Waterfoot Road. Particularly if you're coming from the southern end, the Jackton end, you've got to go around that blind bend, and you can only see at the last moment cars that are turning right into Waterfoot Road. And there's no signage on the blind bend to let you know that there's a junction coming up. The area of the road just before the blind bend and just after the blind bend has no pedestrian footpath at all. Also not mentioned in the agenda roads report. And the painted road surface is all on a newer slide. I had it marked as with red dotted lines, but I haven't got it on this slide, so I apologise for that. Road surface markings not shown as they're degraded and you can't see them. And again, you'll see that in some of the images in a moment. So we've come here to say, what can we do to make Peel Road a safer environment for all of the residents, the road users to use? Next slide, please. So we believe we can upgrade extant road signs. You can see here the 1920s type road sign that I've talked about. You can see the blind bend, which has got the junction just after it. And we believe We need new road signs here to allow motorists to recognise the issues on the road that are ahead of them. Next slide, please. We need you to repair existing signs. Here's the footpath across the railway bridge. I've taken all of these images at night so you can see what it would be like to drive in the wet, in the dark, during the winter on Peel Road. You can see there the degraded 30-mile-an-hour sign. The light colours behind it of a slow sign, you can't even read it. The road bridge there, the railway bridge, as you can see, as it is. Next slide, please. I believe we should be able to, when I say I, we believe that we should be lighting the 30-mile-an-hour signs. Here, in this image, there are two 30-mile-an-hour signs. You can barely see them. The Dragon's Teeth road markings here, you can't see it. You can't see the centre lines on the road. And the 30-mile-an-hour road signs here should be lit at the Jackton end of the village, just to let people know what's happening next. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. And we can install signs warning motorists of pedestrians in the road. Here's the entrance to the railway bridge, and you can see that there we are, men working in the road, right on the path in the middle of the railway bridge. That sign's been there for 3 months, and it just sits there. And so pedestrians are forced to move around it. We don't know whether someone's going to pick it up or what's happening. I think it's been put there by QTS, but we don't know. This railway bridge, it narrows as the road goes across it, and there's no sign saying pedestrians in the road, no sign indicating that it should be 30 miles an hour, and believe there should be eye-level signs here for motorists to see. Next slide, please. We'd also like you to repair the activated road signs. We've got 4 of them. At the moment, one's definitely not working and one seems to be intermittent, and these are at the northern end of Peel Road. Next slide, please. Potholes. This is a pot. We know about the road surface along Peel Road, but this pothole is right in the middle of the village, ironically, next to the 30-mile-an-hour sign. What do motorists do? They have to swerve around the pothole into the middle of the road. And so they accelerate past the 30-mile-an-hour sign. And also the mini roundabouts, which were discussed before. Here is an image of the mini roundabout at night, and we can quite clearly see that cars have been driving across it. It's just ignored. So next slide, please. So I believe there are some easy measures that could be undertaken straight away to make Peel Road a lot safer. We could install 30-mile-an-hour, what I would call eye-level road signs, to replace the degraded painted road surface signs. We could install a rail bridge, 30-mile-an-hour pedestrians in the road signs. We could light the 30-mile-an-hour signs at the Jackton end of Peel Road. We can replace current red bend road signs with 30-mile-an-hour blind bend and pedestrians in the road signs. We can install right-hand and left-hand road junction signs into Waterfoot Road. We can install 30-mile-an-hour signs at all road junctions coming onto Peel Road, repair the 30-mile-an-hour activated warning signs, reinstate the 30-mile-an-hour and slow-painted road surface signs, including the Dragon's Teeth signs, reinstate the degraded painted footpath lines, and repair the potholes. There are harder measures which need to be considered, and those are in no particular order: install perhaps pedestrian-controlled traffic lights on the railway bridge, install road traffic lights on the railway bridge, or install a properly constructed, protected footpath, cycle path across the railway bridge, and narrow the road to a single lane and to accommodate traffic lights. And we could finally install traffic calming on Peel Road where no footpaths exist. This is between the Jackton entry to Thornton Hall and the Blind Bend, and between the Waterfoot Road junction and the railway bridge end. We could re-engineer the micro roundabouts to make sure they're used correctly and to calm the traffic speeds. Currently, they're not doing that, even though they're designed to do that. Last point, please. Last slide, please, or last but one. A point to note is that repairing the road surface on Peel Road, whilst making the road safer for cyclists, riders and pedestrians where no pavements exist, may also encourage motorists to increase their speed. Any reparation should include the easy measures which I've mentioned here, and suggested in an attempt to keep all road users as safe as they transit through Thornton Hall. Last slide, please. So just brings me to a close and say thank you for your time. I'd like to introduce Dr. Fiona Gardner, who wishes to address you, and after that I may, hopefully, with the Chair's permission, invite you to ask any pertinent questions. Thank you. Dr. Fiona Gardner.
Thank you. Just before Dr. Gardner joins, I just realised we're about 10 minutes, so I'll give you two minutes, if that's okay with you. Just no problem. Okay, right, thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Fiona Gardner, Chair of the Local Community Council of Jackton and Thornton Hall. I'd like to thank Paul for his presentation today. He's shown effort, commitment and time to produce this, and the Thornton Hall and Jackton Community Council are very grateful for that. I'm also grateful that you've allowed us to present this petition to you. I would like to stress that this is an ongoing problem and has been for the best part of 8 years, and I really hope after this presentation today that we get a positive, safe outcome.
Okay, thank you. I'll now give the opportunity for our colleagues from the Roads and Transportation. I think it's Jonathan that's going to address these measures, or these points that have been raised this morning. So I'll let you... Questions to the petitioner. Oh, sorry, beg you. Questions. It's just questions to the petitioners just now.
Thanks, Chair. If it's okay with you, Chair, I'd like to address comments in relation to the petitioner's presentation in our response that's contained in the... Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Chair. I'd like to refer to the committee to our response that's contained on page 4 of agenda item 2, commencing at section 6. I don't propose to read all the response, but would like to refer to the key points and also address comments that have been raised by the petitioner. So looking at section 6.1 on page 4, the introductory bullet points in section 6.1 note that the Council follows an agreed process in relation to the prioritisation of road safety improvements to assist in casualty reduction. Members will be aware that this process has been agreed at the Road Safety Forum, most recently at its meeting of 21st of November 2023. The primary criterion by which a site or route is prioritised is its recent accident history, as noted in the 4th bullet point under section 6.1, and this is on page 5. Our process reflects the national, regional and local approach to meet casualty reduction targets, and this is achieved through partnership working. Road safety engineering projects are also supported by education, training and publicity initiatives. By way of background, the sites chosen for further detailed investigation for the current financial year were agreed at the Road Safety Forum meeting on the 11th of March 2025. There were 3 route action locations and 3 single site locations for further investigation. All these locations experienced between 4 to 5 road traffic collisions in the past 3 years, including serious road traffic collisions at all these locations and a fatality at one of these locations. By way of context, there were 9 fatal casualties in the South Lanarkshire Council area in 2024, with 130 serious casualties and 233 slight casualties. These are similar to 2023 figures. I'd like to note there are 0 injury accidents recorded in the Thornton Hall area in the last 3 years, for which data is available. Details of the incidents referred to, if reported to the Police Scotland, will be available to us in the coming weeks. I'd like to turn attention to point 1 on page 5 in relation to vehicle speeds through the village regularly exceeding the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. The detection and prosecution of speeding drivers is the responsibility of Police Scotland. Since 2022, only 1 traffic fixed penalty notice has been issued on Peel Road, and this was not for speeding. We liaise with Police Scotland and they are aware of the issues raised regarding speeding on Peel Road. We understand that the police have visited the location in the past as well as recently, and we are aware that this section of road is likely to be subject to further enforcement action over the summer. Referring to point 2 on page 5, this is in relation to the mini roundabout junctions. These do comply with relevant standards and guidance, and moving traffic offences in relation to irresponsible driving are the responsibility of Police Scotland. Bullet point 3 on page 6 refers to traffic volumes. In respect of the date of the traffic survey, this was undertaken in June 2022. In our experience, more recent traffic surveys should only be undertaken if there's been a change to the characteristics of the road. In this case, we're confident that the June 2022 survey remains representative of the current situation. We're satisfied that Peel Road is not experiencing an inappropriate increase in usage associated with the East Kilbride Community Growth Area development. And from an engineering perspective, Peel Road is operating with sufficient capacity and will continue to operate within its operational capacity for some time to come. But we will continue to monitor this. We do note, however, that travel patterns are affected by the ongoing works in and around the new Hare Myers station. Turning to point 3 on page 7 in relation to speed warning signs being ignored. We're satisfied that the current levels of features are adequate to convey the speed limit. And it should be noted that the vehicle-activated signs, as VAS for short, are supplementary to the regulatory speed limit signs that are in place. However, we are aware that the 2 VAS signs to the north of the village are currently not working. Our electricians have scheduled a visit to the sign on Peel Road near East Kilbride Road with a view to rectifying any faults. The sign on Peel Road near Brayhead Road requires spare parts that are no longer manufactured, so we do intend to replace this sign in the current financial year. Points 4 and 5, in relation on page 7, relate to road traffic and wildlife accidents and road traffic accidents and close misses involving pedestrians on the crest of Peel Road Railway Bridge. I'd like to point out that only injury accidents are recorded and reported to ourselves. There have been no reported injury-related accidents within the most recent 3-year assessment period up to the end of January 2025 for the priority junction of Waterfoot Road, Peel Road. Moreover, further interrogation of the police accident database reveals that there have been no reported injury-related accidents at this junction for which data is available since January 2006, which is almost 20 years ago. A review of the police accident database reveals that there have been no reported injury-related accidents with the most recent 3-year assessment period up to the end of January 2025 again within the vicinity of Peel Road Railway Bridge. However, we will receive details of the incidents noted in any presentation should these be injury-related accidents once the police have completed their inquiries. Furthermore, over the last 10-year time period, there's been 1 reported slight injury along the length of Peel Road. In relation to road surfaces, that's point 6 on page 7 of the report. Inspections are undertaken monthly in line with our inspections manual. And I'd like to point out there are challenges across all wards in South Lanarkshire in terms of the condition of the road surface. But however, there has been recent increased investment towards stabilising the network. Most of the 1 mile long section from the railway bridge to Hay Hill Road is included in the 2025-26 carriageway resurfacing programme, and this is scheduled to commence in the early summer. This will also include the refresh of road markings along the length of Peel Road corridor. And thank you and welcome any questions.
Sorry, just thank you for that. I'll let the petitioners ask any questions on those comments from the Roads Department.
I have a few questions actually, but I can consolidate them. You talk about ad hoc and regular inspections of the road. Could you let me know when the last ad hoc or regular inspection of Peel Road was undertaken?
As Johnny alluded to there, this particular section of road gets inspected on a monthly basis, so it was last undertaken in March.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to address this to you, please. If the last inspection was taken in March, why aren't the missing road, the 30-mile-an-hour signs, the Dragon's Teeth signs, the abrasion of the road surface, why is that not mentioned in the agenda? Because clearly from the images you can see that those painted signs on the road are missing. We can see that the lines on the bridge are missing, And if the road's been reviewed, then I would have expected that to appear in the agenda, so everybody would have a full understanding of the state of the road as it stands now. And we're talking really not so much about the state of the road, but more about the safety aspects of the road. And the safety aspects are the fact that the 30-mile-an-hour signs, which we're told slow people down, the dragon's teeth signs, which we're told reduce speed across the whole of the UK in small villages by 5 miles an hour, the vehicle-activated signs, not mentioned in this report, but they're also, we're told from the agenda of 2022, they reduce speeds through the village by between 1.2 and 2.7 miles an hour. I'm surprised that none of those are in this agenda and been made available to you. So thank you.
I'll let Stuart respond to those remarks. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think, as most members of this committee know, the asset management process, there are various issues with our road network, as the petitioner has outlined. The carriageway condition itself, as I said, gets inspected once a month. That does also include the condition of road markings as well. And in this particular case, the council has taken positive action to resolve the issues that have been made this morning. We are intending to resurface roughly a kilometre of Peel Road itself, and that will ensure that the surface itself is going to be of a good condition moving forward. In conjunction with that, we are aware of the road marking situation, and the full length of Peel Road from one end to the other will be relayed as well as part of the works that are proposed for the resurfacing as well. So we are fully aware of the situation across South Lanarkshire, and as members will be aware through the recent increased investment, it's allowing myself and colleagues in the road service to undertake a lot more work than we were initially anticipating for this financial year, and we'll try and get around as much of the road network as we can, particularly when it comes to looking at road markings as well. That is on our radar, not just for this location, but across South Lanarkshire as well.
Sorry, you got anything more to ask? Yep, please.
I've pointed out here in my presentation that there are probably 25% of Peel roads missing footpaths. I've also pointed out in my presentation that there's a blind junction, a blind bend. I've also pointed out that on that blind bend, there's no sign saying that pedestrians are in the road because there isn't a footpath. And I've also pointed out the fact that there are no junction signs for going into Waterfoot Road, particularly when coming from the Jackton end of the road, where you can't see the junction into Waterfoot Road. And again, I'm going to come back to the March review of the road and the safety aspects of Peel Road and ask why those aren't mentioned in this agenda and why the chair has not been made aware of them. And more importantly, going back to the 2022 agenda, none of these points were brought up either with regard to the blind bend and with regard to no footpaths. Thank you.
I'll let Stuart respond again.
There's a couple of aspects there. In terms of the surveys that are undertaken on a monthly basis there for the condition of the carriageway itself, just to be clear on that aspect. In terms of road safety, in terms of casualties, as members of this committee will be aware, the Road Safety Forum has been presented with various papers over the years, and there's regular papers that are presented to that forum. When it comes to casualty reduction, we undertake an annual assessment, and that assessment looks at locations where casualties have been occurring. Those are then reviewed with a view to finding locations, and that's referred to within the papers, where further action could be undertaken. As John mentioned in his response there, throughout an extended period of time, there's thankfully very, very few injury accidents occurring within this section of Thornton Hall itself. And our focus has to be on locations where there are injury accidents occurring. And again, to put that into perspective, we have roughly 400 casualties occurring on our road network in any given year. And that number has reduced fairly significantly from roughly 15 to 20 years ago when it was roughly 1,000. And that is through the body of work that John and his team do when it comes to identifying locations where there's been injury accidents, looking at measures to implement, and then implementing those. And that's seen that there has been a steady decline in the number of accidents that have been occurring across our network. And the funding that we get is specifically targeted for those locations. Now, that's not to say that in sections of the community, such as Thornton Hall, for example, that we don't look at those. And through the discussion that we've had this morning, various bits of correspondence that we've had in the past, as you can appreciate, since 2017 has been mentioned, there's been fairly irregular bits of correspondence from the community. So we do and have taken consideration of this particular section of road, and again, it's how we apply our resources in any given financial year, how we go about doing that as effectively as possible. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Do you have any more questions?
Just one final question, and I'm not trying to demean what you do by any means, so please be aware of that. The data you're using for road traffic volumes comes from June 2022, I believe you said. Now, that was the end of COVID, and the whole world changed, and we were taking on the working from home and so on and so forth. Since then, we're 3 years further on down the road, no pun intended, and we are seeing an increase in traffic volumes, and I'm afraid that, to my mind, and this is only to my mind, relying on data which has come from a period where everybody was restricted at home, people weren't using their cars as much and got into a different mentality over the previous 2 years. I think that the data should be reconsidered, and perhaps a road of traffic volume count could be undertaken just to appease, if that's the right word, but just to let the villagers of Thornton Hall know what volume of traffic is actually going up and down Peel Road. And that would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, when it comes to traffic volumes, we've been basically assessing our traffic volumes, particularly over the COVID period, and since as well. I think just looking at traffic volumes in general, traffic volumes prior to the pandemic were at a point where they were very similar to what was happening way back in 2008. So if you're going back to the sort of mid-2000s, traffic volumes were relatively increasing on an annual basis. There was then the economic crash, 2007, 2008, and the number of vehicles on our road fell reasonably. And then that slowly started to increase since then, up to roughly just before the pandemic, they were roughly at the same levels. So if you're comparing 2008 to 2019, in general, the volumes were roughly the same. During the pandemic, the volumes changed very, very significantly with the various restrictions that were in place at any given time throughout that sort of 2-year period. So what we've found since the pandemic is that the volume in the road network is roughly back to where it was prior to the pandemic, albeit the peak periods are not exactly what they were. Previously they were a lot more peaky. Now they're more rounded and over an extended period, and that takes into account the sort of working from home type changing in people's work practices. In terms of traffic counts and getting new ones undertaken, I'm quite happy to take that forward, and that way it would give us a bit of peace of mind in terms of where the current traffic volumes are. In terms of Thornton Hall and the sort of wider East Kilbride area, the new development at the community growth area just off M. Eaglesham Road, that's a lot more developed now compared to what it was a few years ago. And obviously that's continuing as well. So we're aware of what traffic volumes were originally predicted from that particular housing development, and we're now seeing some of that starting to appear on our road network. Whether it's going through Thornton Hall is probably a separate question, but by doing the counts, it will give us an indication of what has changed over recent years, particularly.
Okay, thank you. If you've got no further questions, I'll ask Councillor Equi to address the committee. So, yeah, if you let her in, please.
Hi, thanks Chair for your indulgence to actually allow me to speak today. It's very much appreciated, because for anybody that doesn't know, you don't need to allow me to do that. So I very much appreciate it. A lot of the points that I had have actually already been covered by both Paul and Fiona, and also by our officers. I would start by saying that a lot of the problems that have been raised, the council's hands, I know, are tied, because it's got to be, we're working, instead of it being a prevention better than cure methods by the bodies, i.e. council and the police, it's more a case of the police, council's hands are tied, and so are the police until accident happens, and then there's got to be a significant amount of accidents before it's then attributed that enough points are noted to the council to then basically make sure they engage to do something about it. Personally, I don't think that's a good way, but I know that that's one for the politicians to take up in the Scottish Government. What I just wanted to check out, and a lot of this has been raised, so just for basically the officers to come back, I just wanted to make sure that there was going to be a review of the road markings, both the lines and the speed markings, and also the electronic signs. And I know a lot of this has been covered, but if I just say it, then it means that anything that hasn't been covered, then I would look for you to come back to me on it. Could you also advise when the areas mentioned will be included in the resurfacing works? Because I feel this is definitely a priority. Now, I know that dates have been mentioned, and I know that they've been mentioned for the area, but I wanted to make sure that they were going to include not what the council had in their plan, if they have already included that, but to make sure that the specific roads and areas that have been pointed out by the Jackton and Thornton Hall Community Council, that they were definitely all going to be included. And if you could, when you're doing that, make reference to Paul's presentation, which I thought was fantastic, to be honest with you. And I think that we would definitely want to look at the easy and the hard measures that's been pointed out. Also, I know that we've got road signs, but not all of them are lit. Could we look at, with fresh eyes, that what ones should now be lit? Also, I feel that unless this has been dealt with and I've missed it, that there's, because of, I'll use the example, because of the roadworks which are essential at the Garden Hall roundabout, for want of a better word, next to the Hare Myers train station. There's a lot, because I stay in the area, nobody really used the back roads that much, whether it was the ones from like Brayhead or the ones that were going from the Kilmarnock roundabout. That is now an absolute rat race. They are roads that you would walk before and there would never be a car on, whereas now, as Paul's correctly pointed out, it's like, cars going into ditches at the side so that the two cars can pass each other. So there's definitely a momentous amount of traffic now that's using those roads. And my fear is that once people find these roads and start to use them, even when then the other areas get fixed, i.e. the roundabout at Hare Myers, not everybody's going to go back to necessarily using them. There's going to be people that still stay and use the back roads. So that's something that is now just a consequence of basically moving forward and, you know, helping transportation, but there are the knock-on effects of it, and that is one that I would definitely like us to take into consideration. I think that's pretty much it, apart from, I think that could we look at with fresh eyes, basically the missing paths and also, you know, signs that aren't on the blind bends and areas that didn't previously have junction signs. Could we look at them having junction signs? And the other point, in case I might already have said this, so I apologise because I was having to amend my speech as I was going along, as everybody was doing everything, was I just wanted to say, I don't know if this is something that we could do as a council or it needs to be taken forward to the Road Safety Forum for them to then take it to the police, or whether this is something that we could actually generate from here or the officers, which would be looking at the road speeds and which ones should actually be amended, and ones that didn't previously have road signs, should they now have road signs? And I wondered if we could involve the police to make sure that they do a traffic volume count by being a presence on that road, because I think that that would also stop people, because when the police came out, and it was about 3 weeks ago, it was like literally everybody knew the police were there. And it was like a total talking point. Therefore, that will have scared off a lot of people that were using it as a rat run. And I just feel it would be a benefit to the community, to the council, to safety, to the police, if we could get them back out. And, you know, it's not I want to give people like points or, you know, get people into trouble, but I just feel that there'll be road users that maybe perhaps don't understand what speed the roads are, or maybe they aren't actually the correct speed anymore. Anyway, thank you very much for the indulgence, Chair. I very much appreciate it. And I thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of my constituents.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Equi. I'll now ask for comments or questions from the elected members, if they have any.
Thank you. One of the questions I had has been partially answered. I wondered where the road actually sort of went to that had such a volume of traffic. Was it just local into the villages, or was it taking you to somewhere specific? So I'm assuming it's going to somewhere specific, a bigger area, a motorway, or a bigger town or something like that, but somebody can answer me on that. And also, this is just a comment, and it's nothing, absolutely nothing to demean or say that what you have put forward isn't correct. But if you go to every councillor sitting in this holy South Lanarkshire, then I think every single person would tell you that the biggest problems they have is roads and volumes of traffic and whatever. And it struck home because people that I know, they had 2 cars, which is the norm now, as far as I've read all the data. Their first child, 22, at 17 actually, passed their test, needed a car. Second child, who passed their test just recently, needed it. So there's now 4 cars sitting at one door, and that seems to be the norm. It's the volume of people needing cars or wanting cars and different stuff. So it is a very, very bad problem. We also, and this struck home as well, the part about no pavements. I live in in the rural area, but my town is a wee bit bigger, but there is semi-rural parts to it. And the problem about the pavements is that a lot of times, in my case, we don't have control of the land, and you know, and the houses have been built and the land is still in somebody else's ownership. So it really is quite a difficult problem. I'm quite pleased that what was said as well, Chair, through you, that we are now going to look globally, South Lanarkshire-wide, at markings and different things like that. I think that's what you said, that with your extra money you could look. I'm no saying, and I'm no absolutely no saying who's to be first and who's to be second or third even. You can, as you are experts, go out and look at it, and if it is Thornton Hall and Jackton and that area, that's fine. And also, if you're going to look at, should there be lights, I've seen them somewhere where at night they come on and they shine onto the 30 miles or whatever, then I would like that to be global as well, so that, you know, you could maybe have a good look at future plans to do that. And I accept everything that you're saying about the volume of traffic, and we'll find out, you know, who's coming and who's going. But also I think for anybody's town, you'll find that a lot of it as well is local, because that's the case. It's no now just 2 cars at doors, it's a lot more cars at doors. And again, it's trying to educate people about speed. We've all got it. But thank you for coming and thank you for your presentation. And I'm glad that without us having to say that the roads department or the roads are coming up with suggestions and have got some money to go out and do some of the stuff. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, just reiterate the point. I think everybody and every councillor in their inbox has comments or questions about traffic. It's not unique to Thornton Hall, and we appreciate that, you know, we have a finite budget and we have to prioritise it. And I appreciate that the comments that came from Roads Department with regard to the planned works and also the suggestions of doing a further road traffic analysis. Is that correct? And I welcome that. I would ask, and I think Councillor Equi raised it, was I know that you've got it in your programme for 25-26, and I know that these things can't be cast in stone because of weather and other situations, but do you have a kind of rough start time and even a length of programme, because this will also lead to, I would imagine, a road closure. So it'd be interested to know if any of that's been sorted out yet. And I won't hold you to the dates, but it's good to have an idea of, you know, going forward, and also to give some assurance to the petitioners. Thank you.
Just in response to your questions, Chair, the programme itself is in the process of being developed, so there's obviously a number of schemes that need to be considered as part of that programme. The other thing I would draw your attention to is obviously there are existing roadworks in the surrounding area as well, so they need to be considered, and there might be other roadworks coming in line as well. So there's a few fingers in the pie when it comes to trying to develop a programme. We have said the summer. You'll notice that that's a season and not a month. It might be a day, depending on what part of Scotland you're in, but we're currently looking to have that, I would say, probably late summer, and that will allow the traffic partners to settle down again once the sort of road works are removed from in and around the railway station itself. And it is likely that there will be a road closure associated with these works, given the width of the road as well and the type of work that that's involved. And that's really to make sure that not only is the workforce working in a safe environment, but obviously any road users as well are not finding themselves in a situation where they could be in danger. There was a number of other questions that Councillor Equi posed and Councillor Logan posed. Are you happy for me to? Okay, Councillor Logan, in terms of the sort of traffic within this area, If you can picture a square, people are trying to get from one corner of the square to the other. So basically from Eaglesham Road onto South Road that then heads in towards Busby. There's two options. One is through Thornton Hall, another one is on the GSO and then along the dual carriageway, which is called South Road. The quicker route is the GSO on South Road, but when we've currently got works on Redwood Drive, and that's affecting people's travel patterns for the last few months. So we are conscious of that people are finding their own way across that part of the road network. In terms of footpaths, you're correct. Land ownership is a particular issue where we would be looking to try and find a solution to provide a footway from A to B. In most cases, it involves third-party land, and that's the nature of the network that we have, particularly in the sort of rural or semi-rural areas. In terms of priority for sort of road markings, we have undertaken some work over recent years, particularly in sections of the rural road network where we've provided new markings, but also road studs as well. Slightly different from this location we're talking about today, but I hope it gives you the comfort that we are taking forward in these types of schemes as and when we can. Just going back to sort of traffic volumes, the population of Thornton Hall itself has grown over a period of time as well. I had a look at the census data over the last 30 years, and so roughly there's about 900 residents. That's increased from 600 from 10 years, that'll be 2011, and it's increased from 500 from before that as well. So it is, as you're alluding to there is a lot more people living and travelling within South Lanarkshire itself. Just going through Councillor Equie's questions. Yes, we will be reviewing the markings and we'll be replacing markings. The electric signs, we'll make sure that they're operational as quickly as possible. The dates for resurfacing works we just spoke about there. In terms of road signs and lighting of them, there are national guidance on the types of signs that can be lit. For example, in this particular discussion this morning, the speed limit signs themselves have been discussed. So they are regulatory signs, and if they're within a system of street lighting, they do not require to be lit themselves directly. But what we'll do is, as a consequence of this morning's discussion, we will review the condition of, particularly of the speed limit signs, but we'll look at all the signs on this section of road and make sure that they're of an appropriate standard. In terms of the signs in and around junctions, we tend not to sign every single road junction, particularly either in rural sections or within our urban areas. We would only tend to sign junctions if there are particular issues. So, for example, if there was a number of casualties at this junction, we would undertake a review of that. So that probably explains why there's not any there at the moment, because there's never been a particular casualty issue for us to come in and have a look at. In terms of the vehicle speeds, I would draw your attention to what John said earlier. We have been liaising with Police Scotland, and they've given undertaking to continue with a programme of enforcement action on this particular section of road. And once we get that information back from the police, we'll obviously consider the outputs from that exercise as well. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Before I go to Councillor Ray and Tona, I'd ask them to keep their questions brief and relevant to the petition. And I know roads, as we could be here till the cows come home, and I don't want to be there because I've got other things to do today. Sorry, that sounds a bit insensitive, and I apologise for that. But if you keep them brief and relevant to today's petition. Thank you. I'll take Councillor Ray first. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, obviously the petitions have brought a range of points that were listed. I think some of those, in terms of road surface, road markings, etc., are obviously going to be addressed. There are some more significant proposals that probably don't fall within the criteria in terms of accident injuries and so on. But a couple of points in particular were brought up around road signs, or the potential for road signs. I think it was at a blind bend and a narrowing of the road at the railway bridge. And I just wondered, is it possible for that kind of thing to be introduced, or are there national rules that determine whether or not it's put in place, or would it come in under the sort of test of accident injuries, etc.? So I just wondered what the likelihood of doing that would be. Thanks.
So can I take Councillor Toners and then you can just answer them together then? Okay.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'll be brief as well because the amount of roads complaints is amazing. Just what Norman was saying about the blind bend and things like that. I've drove this road quite a few times. Recently, my sat-nav took me on a detour, which was interesting. The sort of concerning points to me is the entrance to the train station. It's, if you don't know that the train station's there, it's just a sort of, do you know that way? You're coming along a bit of houses and then it's just like this sort of like a couple of wee lines on the road. And then obviously from that you're going into the narrow bridge, is that right? From what I remember. And again, the narrow bridge, as a driver who doesn't know the road and who's following a sat-nav, that whole section there is rather concerning. The only other thing, obviously, and when we were talking about the 30 mile an hour and lighting up the street signs, I think you just spoken about that. Yes, if you're driving along, you've only got really houses on one side of the road. So even though the 30 mile an hour sign on the side of the road where the houses is lit, the 30 mile an hour sign on the other end, even though it's within the area, isn't actually, do you know that way, isn't actually lit. So it's just to sort of, I think that was in one of the pictures as well that you'd put. And just a sort of final point in my other life, I do a heck of a lot of risk assessments, and it's concerning not just for this committee, but for a number of other committees in the council that we take into consideration, do you know, like your accident data and things like that, which is absolutely correct, but there's no sort of process for your near miss reports. And in any other walk of life where I'm doing the sort of risk assessments, your near misses are counted as well. And I know it's really hard to get, and it's anecdotal data and things like that, because if it's not reported to the police because somebody's clipped your wing mirror, then, and you don't claim your insurance, then it's counted as it hasn't actually happened. But do you know that way? There's a lot of problems around that, and again, it's not really for this committee, but it's just a point that's relevant, I think. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Stuart, if you want to just answer some of those points raised.
Thanks, Chair. Going back to Councillor Ray, in terms of the road signs and road markings in and around the sort of railway bridge, the bridge itself does have road and arrow signs on the approach to it. You heard from the petitioners today that the road markings themselves are indeed of refreshing. As I said, those will be done. The station itself does have a Network Rail have got one of their signs at the entrance to it, so as you're driving along the road you should be able to see that sign as you approach it. So that, together with the road and arrow signs, it conveys to drivers that they're approaching not only the station, but there's obviously the road and arrowing itself. In terms of the criteria for the signing and lighting of speed limit signs, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but roughly if the sign itself is within so many metres of a street light, then it doesn't require to be lit. As I said earlier, one of the things that we'll look at is the condition of those signs to make sure that there's enough reflectivity within those signs themselves. Moving to your last point, Councillor Toner, in relation to the sort of processes that we have in terms of reducing casualties, that's one that we could probably debate longer to when the cows come home. But one thing I would say is that when it comes to the perception of an accident or the information that we get from non-police sources, I can use the example of the cyclist that was mentioned earlier. There's another bit of correspondence came in to me yesterday who claimed that a cyclist was knocked down by an HGV and taken to hospital. That's slightly different from the information that is available to the Community Council. So you can see how someone has taken something and then it's sort of grown arms and legs by the time it gets to the next person. So that's why we often rely on the information that Police Scotland have. And when it comes to the information that they hold information in relation to accidents as well, but if there was an incident, they'll have a level of detail that we can get access to as well. So that's something, as John said, that when we get the next batch of statistics through and information through from Police Scotland, we will obviously review that. In terms of the sort of near misses and how you measure those, that's always been a topic of conversation, and it's one where I would turn that round and say that everyone that uses the road network has a responsibility to use it appropriately. And with the road safety framework document that has been produced by Transport Scotland, part of that is looking at how we, as an industry, try and convey the appropriate message that if you step out on the road as a pedestrian or as a cyclist or if you're in a car, you should be driving appropriately. And you'll probably see over a period of time various campaigns coming out that sort of focus in on that. And very briefly, I can probably take you to the junction outside where we're sitting at the moment. And if you look at it, you will see driving that is falls into the not appropriate category, maybe even the illegal category as well. So it isn't just homed in one part of South Lanarkshire, it is an issue across South Lanarkshire, and it is one that we, as I said, intend to be taking forward as part of the obligations under the framework in terms of road safety, and we'll be working with partners, and that includes Police Scotland, Scottish Fire and Rescue as well, to make sure that any road safety messages are appropriate and are going out to as wide an audience as we can. So I hope that's answered the questions.
Thank you. Your light's flashing, Mr. Harvey. Are you wishing to ask a question? We don't usually allow further questions for yourself, but I'm willing to make an exception if you keep it brief.
So thank you, Chair. It'll be very brief. Really, it was just to say that the railway bridge, which you've just said has road narrow signs on it. I've lived in Thornton Hall for nigh on 20 years, and I'm not saying that there weren't road narrowing signs there at some point, but they're certainly not there now. And secondly, the cyclist who had the accident last week was actually taken to hospital, and she was taken to hospital, and the police and ambulance services did attend. So yeah, anecdotal evidence sometimes perhaps is truer than we think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I've just reminded the elected members and the members of the committee that we have 3 options to consider to make it, and that is we agree that the issues raised deserve further action, and agree to refer the petition to another council committee, officer or other organisation with recommendations. Option number 2 is agree that the issue raised does not merit further action, or the final option is refer back to the resource with recommendations for further action. So I think our colleagues from the Roads Department have took cognizance that the points have been raised in the petition. I'm glad to hear that the roadworks are scheduled to come along. They've also offered to do a further road traffic analysis, which would give us a clearer picture. So with those points in mind, I'm happy that we don't merit any further action, but I'll let the councillors have their say or propose otherwise.
I'm agreeing with yourself. I think it's like a fourth option we've had for the ones that you said. I think what we've heard from the roads colleagues this morning has went a long way to, you know, telling us that there is work to be done, there is work ongoing, and everything that you said was correct. And my only wee point is, if ScotRail or whoever it is that runs the franchise, should they not be in the pot somewhere? If it's their bridge and their station, should we not be engaging with them for better signage as well? And I agree with what you've said, that I think we've heard a good bit today on linings, everything that's going on to alleviate quite a bit of the situation.
Regarding ScotRail and how they get involved?
Yes, God, that's the rail industry. So the signage, etc., probably falls with Network Rail because that is part of the established network. ScotRail, through their franchise, through Network Rail, they may have obligations on that. I will take an action to liaise with the contacts that I've got, with a view to engaging with them to see what signage, etc., can be put in place. If it maybe helps members coming to a decision, I'm quite happy to work with the lead petitioner and the community council and report and discuss with them out with this forum and go through some of the points that have been raised, and certainly some of the actions that have been taken or I've made an obligation to take forward. I can have that discussion with them if that helps with the discussion.
I'd certainly be happy with that, yeah. Dr. Gardner, very briefly, if you may.
I think, listening to everything that's been said today, this warrants further action. Okay, you're saying you're going to do further action, but we can't say that's going to happen until it happens. So I think we should be saying it merits further action.
Sorry, I was just getting a bit of clarification there. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think with what Stuart has said and everything else has been discussed, I think there is further action, and I think we've agreed to further action. So I think rather than saying that there's no further action required, I think we'll go back to the first option, which is they agree that there are issues raised, deserve further action, and agree to refer the petition to the officer in this case, with the recommendations that have been discussed today. And I think you've actually volunteered yourself for that anyway. So if anybody, oh sorry, we've got a Councillor MacDonald wish to speak.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I totally agree with everything that Stuart has said, and on his head be it. If this doesn't come off, I'm sure we all know who to go to, and I trust everything that Stuart has said, and hopefully we'll get a satisfactory conclusion for everyone today. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that. Do we have any other comments, or are we agreed to go with the option of basically putting it back to Stuart with the stuff that we've agreed to do today? Are we agreed? Yes. Okay, thank you. We don't have any other business, so I would like to thank everybody for coming today, particularly Mr. Harvey and Dr. Gardner for the time this morning, and also the time since 2022 on this, and hopefully that we're going some way to resolve these issues. And without that, I will close the meeting and wish everybody a good day. Thank you.